I'm here today with Sam Cook from the library, Brixworth Library. We've had many encounters, normally me running in trying to print something for one of my sons, and we got speaking, and she said, "What do you do?" And I told her about the confidence style. And she said, "Tell me a little bit more about it," and I explained, and then we got into a really good conversation, and I thought, we need to film this so that you can hear what I was hearing, because it was really interesting getting an insight into what the world was like 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Thanks.
I don't know how... You're not 50, are you?
I am 53 this year.
Oh, okay. So when we were talking, you said that growing up it was really different, and you understand why mental health's risen a bit more.
Well, I just think it's really hard for mums, to be honest, these days, because of all the media, phones. I think I wouldn't want to live in this era with young children, to be honest. My kids went out playing all the time, so they always had the freedom to play out, and I think the trouble is children are with parents and with adults too much these days, so they're listening to adult conversation, but their brains are children's brains, so they're picking up on things, and that's a lot of that is to do with, I think, their anxiety. To be honest, I think you don't realise when you're on a phone, because you've got mobiles now. We didn't have mobiles, we had a telephone at the end of the street. But I think with mobile phones, you're discussing things which you probably wouldn't have discussed in front of children before. So
that's so right.
So their brains are not adult brains, so they're picking snippets and making things up, which give them anxiety. Because
that's so true. Even when you just said that, I was thinking about a time, well, quite a lot of times, where I've been on the phone, the boys have been in the car, sometimes it's been on loudspeaker, and I always say, I've got some friends, I would say, I'm on loudspeakers and don't swear, and I think I'm thinking more about don't swear, but I'm not actually thinking about the actual conversation and what we're saying and what we're not saying and what they're picking up. And I'm definitely somebody who talks on the phone in front of my children, thinking they're on their iPads.
Mobiles. You can't help it. It rings, you pick it up. I'm not saying mobiles are a bad thing. They're not. They're great in their way. But I think in front of children, they're hearing conversations that you're having with somebody else, and they're hearing your side, but they're not hearing the other side, and then they're putting two and two together and getting five and worrying about things that they shouldn't be worrying about. They should just be children and enjoying their life. They should be carefree.
Totally. So do you think young people worry too much now?
Yeah, because they hear too much, and they're with grown-ups too much. They're not playing out as much as they did. You don't get kids knocking on the door saying coming out to play anymore. And when my grandkids do play out in the garden, they play out, but as soon as an adult comes in, they're there, right near them.
So you can't have private conversations because they're always listening.
Yeah, and the trouble is, parents, I can see where parents are coming from, where they feel like the kids are at their knees all the time, they're always there, and sometimes they feel like they need to have a bit of time out. So I hear a lot about spa weekends, this, that and the other for parents. I get it, because the kids they haven't got the closeness where the kids are playing out, I get that, but then what does that do to the child? Does that make the child feel like they're not wanted? Mum and dad need a weekend away, break from us. Why? I've never ever needed a break from our children. We took them everywhere, but because I had that freedom that they played out, I guess
that was the break.
That's where it comes from.
Okay, so let me just try and work this out. So one of the biggest reasons why we're having this epidemic, let's say, with mental health, is one, the children are with us all the time.
They
don't play out. They're always there, and parents do feel like they're sometimes suffocated, like you never have a minute to think, and as they get older they ask more and more questions, and they seem to hear more, like you said. So now that we're creating these breaks away, and parents are like, we need a girls' weekend.
I hear an awful lot of that. I hear a lot of that.
I say it. We need a girls' weekend.
Never in my life have I ever felt like I needed a break from my kids.
Yeah, and is that because your children weren't as attached to you all the time?
They played out, and then you called them in for the dinner. And
it was a job to get us in.
It was a job to get you into the dinner, But so I think, and also it's the thing with this naughty step. I think making somebody feel isolated is not a good thing. I've never really agreed with that. Children need discipline, because if they haven't got discipline, they don't know they're loved.
Yeah.
So they need discipline. But when my kids were little, if they were naughty or whatever, they sat on the sofa while I hoovered and kept looking at them, you know, like, I'm not happy with you, you know. But they sat on the sofa. They were never told to go to the room. They were never told to sit on the step, because I didn't want them
to feel isolated.
like they were wanted.
Well, this is the thing. I've actually thought about this a lot. I read when I first had children. I didn't know a thing, of course. So I was reading loads of books, and when I heard that lady Jo Frost say naughty step, it didn't make sense to me with everything that I'd learned about child psychology and how to raise confident children. It didn't make sense. But I had an episode with my son when he was 3, and he'd been naughty, and I thought, oh, let's try this. I put him on his bed,
Yeah.
and I put him on his bed, and as I walked away from him, he was crying, and the crying got louder, and it just didn't feel right in my heart. So I went back and said to him, "What's wrong? Why are you crying so much?" He goes, "Don't leave me. I feel like you don't love me."
Exactly.
I said, "I do love you. I just need you to know that was wrong what you did." And he said, "Well, sit here with me." He was 3.
Yeah.
Sit here with me
Well,
then. And then I sat
Yeah.
with him for the 3 minutes on the 3-minute sun timer, which I got from some book. And then after, I just gave him a kiss and a cuddle. I said, "I love you so much, but you mustn't do that again." And he said, "Okay, Mummy." And that's when I realised the naughty step is not a good thing, because it's shaming. It's shame.
It's shame. It's shaming a child. It's shaming a child. It's making a child feel like they're not wanted, like they've done something really, really, you know, wrong, and that they're not worthy of being with you, or they're not. You
Definitely. And I've said to some mums, and they've got quite angry with me. They've said, "Well, I do put them on the naughty step. It's never hurt any of my children." I'm like, "But your children."
But psychologically, it does.
Exactly. Why would you do that? And
Yeah.
I gave an example. Imagine like you're at work and you do something wrong, and your boss says, "Go and sit outside on the step
I know.
for the amount of minutes of your age, and then you can come back in and work and be happy."